Anyone even remotely close to the off-road industry will be familiar with the name Taiga, the only company currently producing legitimate electric off-road vehicles. Last summer, they brought us their Orca watercraft for a day of testing. Today, the crew from Taiga has brought us 2 of their electric snowmobile models to test out. The most important thing I learned about Taiga as a company when we first met them last summer was that all the people behind the company and those designing and engineering the vehicles are enthusiasts. They're people who understand that riding any off-road vehicle is as much about how the vehicle feels and the overall experience as it is about how that experience is delivered. There's no question that we feel Taiga's Nomad is a completely relevant vehicle in today's snowmobile marketplace. And while it's very fun to ride, it's definitely targeted at a much more tame and entry-level audience. Which is why Taiga developed the Atlas for riders who want the ultimate high-performance electric snowmobile experience. Offering the hardest acceleration, highest speeds, and snappiest throttle response, the Atlas has everything needed to put a huge smile on the faces of the most seasoned high-performance snowmobile riders. So before we go any further, I think we need to figure out one important thing. What is a Taiga Atlas?
In the Taiga paradigm, the electric snowmobile business, the Taiga Atlas is the top of the food chain. It's the high performance, ditch banger, influencer, fast guy, first guy down the lake. It's the ultimate performance, outperforming snowmobile. So what sets the Taiga Atlas apart from the Nomad?
Well, they are completely separate categories. You have performance trail and utility touring. But what really technically sets them apart is that the Atlas is a 137, so it's more of a, they call it a crossover, but we know a 137 is a long track trail sled with a 125 lug. It's pretty standard stuff that we've seen before. It's a more aggressive sled designed for hard trail riding, but it also comes with more options in terms of power. So you can actually get an Atlas with the 90 horsepower, the 120 horsepower, or believe it or not, 180 horsepower electric power system. So clearly that point alone proves that this one is targeted as guys who've got a heavy thumb and want to prove something to their buddies. So how has the Atlas been built to deliver the ultimate performance riding experience?
I think you've got to go to ergonomics right away. The position the rider is oriented in, behind the bars of the Atlas, is really great for aggressive riding. You can crawl forward on it, weight the skis, drag the brake to the center of the corner. You can move right back over to the other side of the sled unimpeded. The way the seat and the tank, well, it's not a tank, it's where you charge the battery, but where that junction is, that we would call a seat tank junction, is not interfered with at all. It's wide open. Also, you've got really aggressive running boards. I love that. You don't slip and fall when you're standing up, and the running boards are perfect for doing that. So Taiga hasn't missed a cue in terms of giving you a really aggressive rider posture and cockpit to work from. What are the most important aspects of a performance snowmobile, and how does the Atlas lay those things out?
In everybody's mind, you say performance, you equate that to power. There's a lot more to it than that, but certainly that's the first thing you think of. Does it have power that excites you and puts a smile on your face? And the Atlas definitely has that. Even the one that we rode that wasn't the 180 horsepower one was still super impressive. We both said that when you hit the throttle, the power comes on very smooth, but ramps up real quick in sport mode, and you're pulling the skis up every corner, every hill. But on top of that, it also offers an aggressive handling experience. So you can go into a corner with a lot of speed and weight the outside ski and carve a corner, not just turn a corner like a lot of people do because they're mellow, but drive through a corner. And that's an important aspect of performance also. The other thing that's an important thing, you gotta be able to slow down if you wanna go fast in a trail. I mean, brakes are they are more important from a safety standpoint, but from a performance riding standpoint, brakes might actually be more important than the motor. And I noticed riding this thing on the trail, I could back it into a corner, I could slide it into the corner and then take off through the apex. The brakes were linear, they gave me good feel, and they slowed the sled down in a way that I expected it to slow down. So why don't we talk a little bit about what different Atlas models, maybe more accurately options, are available for an Atlas when you're gonna order one?
Well, this discussion is always about the beef, right? I mean, it's what's under hood. So you have 3 different horsepower variants of the Atlas platform: 90, 120, which is what we experienced, and 180, which I can't wait to try out. There's also 2 different battery packs, and of course the higher the horsepower you go, you're going to want the bigger and stronger battery pack. It's like a parallel discussion about CCs, about engine displacement. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about motor power. So to complement the whole idea of different horsepower output, there are 3 levels that you can select on each of the Atlas models. The first one is Eco, then there is Normal, and then the big step is up to Sport mode. And so those 3 levels of performance are in every Atlas. Why do you think the Atlas provided such a unique riding experience?
It's because it's electric. That's obviously the answer, but it's more than that. It's a lot more than that. Things like power delivery. We're used to snowmobiles performing in a certain way. When you push the throttle, they do certain things. You expect them, and you don't think about them because that's just how a snowmobile works. The Atlas doesn't do all of those things the same way. The one that really grabbed me was Throttle Response, and it's hard to say the word response because it feels different when it's electric, but when you push the throttle, you get immediate movement, like you go forward. There's no RPM to rise and then clutch to grab a belt and then move you forward, which is a slightly unpredictable thing between snowmobiles. You don't really know when that's going to happen. The Atlas, you push the throttle, you know exactly when you're going to start moving because it's right away. Obviously the sound is a big one too. The weirdest one for me is like backing out of a trailer or driving around the parking lot where there's not any noise from the track or wind or anything. The snowmobile is silent. And I mean, you could creep up on somebody and scare the crap out of them with this thing because it's so silent. I just think that's such a cool, different experience. At the end of the day, as we've mentioned multiple times, if after you got over those things, it didn't work right, then it wouldn't be a valid vehicle. But after all of those cool, unique things, it also does all the other things you expect a snowmobile to do just as well as any other snowmobile. So why don't you just sum up your overall thoughts about the Atlas? What did you think after a whole day, 2 days actually riding this thing?
I have to say that if I was laying down my own coin for this thing and I had bought it yesterday and rode it yesterday, I'd be pretty doggone pleased with my purchase. This is a good snowmobile. This is not just a good electric snowmobile. Maybe more importantly, it's got to be a good snowmobile first. And it is. It's a good snowmobile. It's a great high performance product. There's no question about the power that's on tap here. You don't have to make any excuses about that. The handling is really mainstream. The ride quality is respectable. The fit and finish and the detail and the way everything integrates together just impressed me like crazy that this is a credible, high-performance snowmobile that has an electric motor.
Well, there's no question the Atlas is an excellent trail performance snowmobile. Taiga knew it was targeted at a more niche market within the snowmobile industry. So they developed a second flatland model, the Nomad, that appeals to a much broader range of utility and touring users. Click the link below for the second part of this series covering Taiga's Nomad electric utility touring snowmobile model.